Now look at this. Quite the exciting setup going on here. You can see, these are all really out to charge batteries and run updates and all of that. But as you can guess from the title of the video, the one that's going to be the focus is the one in the middle. Even though it's not really privy to any of this video, I'll go ahead and talk about the hardware here briefly. This is an HP Pavilion, let's get the video light, DV8000. It's got dual hard drives, and I actually had a little bit of a situation with one of the hard drives tonight. It's going bad, and it's going bad for the second time in about a month. Even though I have not used this system in about a month. I guess that's what happens when you let things sit on your shelf and collect a layer of dust. Not very happy with me, now is it? But I find it kind of annoying. Having said that, I did have to reinstall the operating system in order to get to this point. Which is why I'm not really starting this until about 2:40 in the morning. Yeah. Oh well, such is the way that things go, I guess. This could go very well as a result of this bad hard driveness. The only thing I've had to do is install the Broadcom wireless firmware because it's not installed out of the box. So that's kind of a problem actually for this system because it needs it. It's the only one in my collection that does though, which is kind of strange. So we'll see. But what are we going to do in this video? Well, we're going to see how to upgrade from the Linux Mint 18 that this is running to Linux Mint 19, which is the latest release. Even though I'm not real fond of the latest release of Linux Mint, it might as well run it. I don't really use this machine very often, and I'm going to try and use it as a test bed for eventually upgrading that to Linux Mint 19 when the time comes. And Mint 19's been out for a while. They've had quite a fair bit of time to sort all these bugs out. The first step in this equation is to make sure that you are running Linux Mint 18.3 Sylvia, I believe is the code name. In this case, no, we're not, so we're going to have to run that upgrade. So, first step in upgrading to Linux Mint 18.3 is to make sure that your system is fully up to date. That's what we're doing right now. Well, this is just a simple check for updates, install all the updates that you get. You should have, if I remember right, there's a Mint updater, and then there's another Mint update thing, package that shows up first. You have to install those, and then all of these other updates show up. I do get the option to upgrade to Linux Mint 18.3 even before I install all these updates, but you may or may not, and it would probably be prudent to update these anyways before attempting to install Linux Mint 18.3, just in case there's a dependency somewhere that might cause problems. Okay, so we've got ourselves to the point where it's at least mostly updated. So we'll go for our option here. Under the Edit menu, upgrade to Linux Mint 18.3 Sylvia. Click on Next. I assure you that I have read the release notes very carefully, and the new features very carefully. And I definitely care about this. I understand the risks. The next thing it's going to do is ask for your password. Interestingly, if we move this out of the way, I noted that it unchecked the box, even though you just saw me check it. Hope that's not going to be the first sign of a problem, but it does seem to be working. So what we should get next is a summary that will tell us what it's going to do, maybe even how long it's going to take. This is not a fast process, so you might want to get yourself a cup of coffee or something. Of course, being as though I don't like coffee, I won't be doing such a thing. Why don't you keep that fan out of the microphone? I wonder what the computer's doing. There it goes. That looks like we're actually installing all the updates. So it didn't actually give us a time remaining. But such is the way that things go, so we'll have to wait till this finishes before we can continue on with the process. And once this process has completed, this is the message that you will see. It really doesn't take that terrifically long, but like I said, that's going to really depend on your hardware. So we'll reboot the system, make sure that everything is working, and then we can actually finally get on with the process of upgrading to Linux Mint 19. And once we've rebooted, we can now see that we are running Linux Mint 18.3, and we are ready to begin the upgrade process. Now, one thing you're probably asking yourself right now is, why don't they allow upgrades within Linux Mint 18 straight to Linux Mint 19? That's kind of stupid, isn't it? To which I reply, yes, it is very stupid. Considering that the Ubuntu that Linux Mint is based on allows direct upgrades. I do not, however, know the answer to that question. You'd have to ask the Linux Mint developers yourself, and it really is not privy to the discussion on this how-to video. The first step is to install and configure Timeshift for backups. Now, you should take a separate backup anyway, just to be on the safe side, but this is going to be your backup. And the Mint upgrade tool that we're going to install requires it. So we'll need to install it and set it up. Because this is not a how-to video on how to use Timeshift, I will not show this process. You can look up a guide on your own. And I may even post one in the video description. There's an intermediary step here, the second step after taking the backup. If you run the following command, cat/etc/x11/default-display-manager, and you do not get LightDM, rather you get MDM, which I presume stands for Mint Display Manager, you need to change to LightDM. Now this is one of the reasons why you wanted to take a backup, because changing your display manager like that, if it doesn't go right, you'll have some pretty serious problems. You will need to run the following command to first install LightDM. Once you have done so, run this command. Finally, the last command you need to run is that. After that has completed, restart your system. Alright, so now that you've done all of that, if you needed to, this is the next command you need to run. It's going to ask you for your password. It should just go ahead and download and run all of that on its own. The next command you need to enter is this. And I want your password again. Definitely do make note of what it says. Especially this note here, any third-party repositories or PPA will be removed. Although it will make a backup. Do keep note of all of that. Of course, we'll continue. And again, this is a fairly fresh install, so I don't really need to worry about it too much. But you might. So you should. This is not the world's fastest process. It only took 25 seconds. You'll see it'll say simulating an upgrade. And again, it tells you to pay close attention to what appears on the screen. Look at all those packages. So, all that should be good. The next thing that we need to do, once that's all done, run this command. Which will then, in theory, download all the packages that we need in order to successfully perform an upgrade. This process is going to take a while, so once again, do as I say, not as I do. Do not start this at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I assure you I read that very carefully. I'm not going to show this whole download process, but it's pretty straightforward. And once that's complete, here is the last command that you need to run. As a side note, I really miss the days when software didn't take itself seriously. You can see that is the case here. It's a breath of fresh air. Continuing our upgrade process, it is the next day. This shouldn't realistically take this long. However, because I started so early in the morning, I couldn't sit here and baby it along. It's not an unattended process. And it actually failed. You'll probably run into this problem too, because apparently it's a common problem. I looked up the, I'm sorry I didn't show this, and I won't show this, but I looked it up online, and unwise twiddling with package management tools is required to correct that little oversight. What happens is it gets stuck because a package that needs to be configured before a package it wants to configure doesn't get configured because the order that it's configuring packages in is wrong, and it gets stuck in a loop like that. Apparently it can't recover from it on its own. So what you need to do, you need to close it, and then you need to go to a terminal, type in sudo dpkg, sudo dpkg, -- configure -a. Once that's done, sudo apt-get install -f. Now that last command didn't really do anything for me. It might do something for you. You would do very well to actually use it. And then you rerun the upgrade. And that's where we're at right now. There's no guarantees that this is going to succeed, but it should. You can see our desktop background has changed. It's updated to the new one. Okay, the upgrade is finished, it says, when everything has completed. So let's do what it says. Actually, we don't really need to do that. At least I don't think so. That could get quite the surprise. This menu might not actually work. I'm just going to reboot, like it asks us to do. Don't be alarmed if the system doesn't reboot. Instead, it takes you to a login prompt. That's what it did for me. Presumably, some of the packages that need to run are not actually running. They've been replaced, and they didn't rerun them. And it won't do so until after a reboot. You can see the machine is still running. Hasn't managed to die yet. So if all of this worked, we should have a working Linux Mint 19 desktop. Of course, it may or may not look like the standard Mint 19 because this is an upgrade. Certainly if you've made any changes, it might not look like a stock Mint 19 upgrade did. You'll have to re-add your PPAs, you'll have to reinstall applications that it removed. You did take note of those, didn't you? So, this might take a little bit. I don't know if you saw that, but there's our first sign of success. That said Linux Mint 19 on it. Like I said, the hard drive, the boot hard drive in here is apparently not in the best of health anymore. Even though it was perfect when I put the machine away about a month ago. Go figure. Leave it alone and it stops working. Yeah, this might take a little bit. And there we have it. One successful upgrade to Linux Mint 19. You can see it even looks like Linux Mint 19. All the themes are installed correctly. Now it looks like we do actually have updated packages. I've already set up time shift. Usually Linux Mint 19 won't ask you to do that. It's a Linux kernel update, and of course you'll have to change your packages back because it's reset everything. But that's not really all part of this video. That's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off, and I hope to see you next time. Till then.